Here we are on beautiful Jones Street.
You saw Ted Jones.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Ted Jones World Podcast. Ted Jones here, as always. Had a long weekend. One of my boys got married. Shout out G and Hill. I'm popping up some pictures here from the wedding. Thanks God they had a photo booth. I feel like for the most part, all weddings have a photo booth, right? You got the sushi bar, was hammering avocado rolls. And I don't know what's happening. Wait, is there a soy sauce shortage, or there has been for like the last 10 years? If you guys notice, every time you go to a grocery store or you order sushi, they're stingy with the packs. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But anyway, I digress. That was a random tangent. I did give a speech at this wedding. It was like a 4.5 minute speech. And I would love to know your guys' opinion on the speech. So I'm going to pop up the speech right here. There were inside jokes that were referenced in the speech. And for the most part, I went from the heart. I wrote so many notes about the speech beforehand, but I feel like by the time I went up there, my paper was too small, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to speak from the heart. F it. We're going to do it live.
Okay, cool. So I wrote like 15 pages of notes, guys, right here. But I feel like for the most part, I think it's best if I speak from the heart. Julio, you and I met when I was 13 or 14 years old, and for lack of a better term, you were essentially my tennis coach. And just like from the time I met you, I just always thought you were the funniest guy I've ever met. Like Julio's first joke that I kind of like understood was like he was. I don't know. I want to be appropriate with you guys, but like I want to just like kind of explain from my heart what I thought was so funny. Julia put on YouTube, like he was making fun of this guy. He said, "Oh, this noodle is so good. This noodle, check you the noodle." Do you guys remember that? You guys know what I'm talking about? All right. But like Julio, you've always made me laugh, man. And you were really one of the first inspirations I had to ever pursue stand-up comedy. And for that, I really love you, man. And everyone's calling you G and like Julio, but you and I, we have like a whole language that we've started with each other. And we've agreed that at this point in time, over the past probably 15 to 17 years, we easily send each other over 1 million text messages. And for real, like a million text messages, it's insane. And a lot of these text messages, like 70% of them is just us saying nonsense, insane things. So we had probably about 6 years of time where we weren't really connecting as much. I was in high school, and then I went through college, and you were living at the Chartuni house. And then I see you on 92nd Street just like texting, walking like this. And I was just like, Julio, is that you? Because my dad moved back uptown. And we connected, bro. And I started coming to your comedy shows, and I was like, this guy is hilarious. This guy's really doing it. It's so cool. And from that point forward, we became closer, and then we started speaking in an Australian accent. And that's how the whole language started. So like we would just say yes, and then yes turned to yeast, and then keep, cave, koi, goy, goy. And then one time we had a typo, and instead of goy, we went to WH goy, and then from that point, it just became insane. I'm so sorry, like not all of you are really like latching on to what I'm saying. We really just like had this entire like language that we've done together, and then like I started seeing this older woman who was very cool, and like Ricky knows this is inappropriate. I promise. I started seeing this older woman, and her last name was Lane, and like this. So it started. I was so nervous. This is appropriate. I promise. So then we started saying like Lane, and then it just became Lane, and like we were just saying all these words. But anyway, guys, what I'm trying to say is that the bond that Julio and I possess is truly something special. And Hillary, that bond that you and Julia possess is really something that like is so special, and like Julia really is fully herself around you, and I think that's the most important thing you can find in a partner is someone who can truly be himself. And Julio is just as silly as he is with me, as he is with you, from what I see, which is really such a beautiful thing. And I remember the first time, we met you. Julio said things that, it's typical, locker room talk that two boys would have about, like, another woman. But, like, Julio really had beautiful things to say about you. Nice locker room talk. You guys, I'm sorry if you guys weren't with me for this entire speech, but I just really wanted to say that what you two guys have is beautiful, and I really hope that one day, Hillary, I find somebody who would connect with me as much as you and Julia connect with each other. So, guys, thank you so much.
It got high praise, I'd say, from like half the wedding, and there were probably 200 people there, and I'd say half of the people, like the younger audience, understood what I was saying theoretically, so they enjoyed it. But yeah, it was a good time. And then it was just like I'd say for the most part, it was a long weekend. So I did that Friday, and then Friday night I didn't drink, and then Saturday I did the brunch comedy show on Bleecker Street. Had a great set there, and then Saturday night, let me tell you what, I took the drinks to Pound Town. I probably ended up having like 5 or 6 drinks, and if you guys have listened to an episode before, you know that for the most part I don't really drink. I drink probably every 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. And if I'm drinking, I gotta be honest with you guys, if I'm having a cocktail, I'm having a few, all right? I'm not a one cocktail at dinner type of person, wine here and there. Like if I'm drinking to get twisted. And sometimes I feel bad in saying that. I'm like, is that okay to say? But yes, I think it's a responsible thing to say. If that, like, I'm drinking, I'm gonna do it. And as you guys are listening to this, it's been I can't believe it. It's been like over 9 months since I even smoked pot. There's always been weed around me, and it's always been, I don't want to say tempting, but it's always been available, like right there if I wanted to smoke it. But I never thought in my life that I would go this long without smoking weed, considering I used to smoke weed like 3 or 4 times a day. I'd stop 3 hours before the podcast and before I'd go on stage. But yeah, it's been so long. Will I ever smoke weed again? I imagine that I would, but for the time being, I just don't feel like doing it. But yeah, so drinking every 6 to 8 weeks. I'm not saying that drinking is healthier than weed, because obviously I don't believe that's the case, but it's just been I don't know, it's just been a part of my life. So I'm not smoking weed at the current moment. And also Monday was great. We had Margarita Monday. And you know what? It's been a long time since I've put any sort of real stand-up comedy on this channel or throughout the podcast. So without further ado, I think I'm going to put in my 15-minute comedy set right here. And if you guys would like to listen to it, I'm gonna put it up. Right now. So if you guys have any thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns, you guys let me know. But here's my 15-minute comedy set from the other night on Margarita Monday.
You saw the Air Jordan movie and just had to shave it off. Perfect timing for the second vaccine too, Peter. Amazing, guys. I imagine nobody else in here got the vaccine, right? Good. All right, nice. Oh man, I love how you confidently shaked your head, dude. You know what's insane? Like 4 years ago, we were all like, this fucking knucklehead. And now you're the genius, bro. So nice work, dude. Nice work, man. You grew up in New York City?
No, I'm from upstate, Syracuse.
Syracuse, okay, go Orange, nice. So you guys just got Cayenne Anthony. Do you see that news? Carmelo Anthony's son just committed to Syracuse. That's nice, you know? You always want to kind of follow in your father's footsteps, but in a situation like that, it's very difficult to follow in your father's footsteps. Like, I worked at my dad's company for 6.5 years, and I know what you guys think when you hear somebody who works for their dad's company. It's like, oh, that kid was slacking off the entire time. But I assure you I was doing important things. Like, anytime Halloween came around, I was the one who put the candy in the office candy bowl, just in case anybody came in. And then when that 5-gallon office water jug needed to be flipped, I was the guy, all right? I was the muscle, and anytime there was like a spreadsheet that needed to be done, I would work on it with somebody else because I didn't know how to do that. You know what I mean? It wasn't an Excel person who knew how to do that stuff. And you know what's also funny about like working for your dad? You guys can never imagine. I mean, I assume a lot of you guys work in the office for the most part, Monday through Friday. Sorry, I just had like 10 espresso beans. I don't know why I did that. I just like chewed on them and now it's stuck in my throat. Not even a bit. Okay. Anyway, but like. It's just like when you work in an office, you never expect to hear the boss yelling at an employee and the employee yelling back. And then an hour later, the boss and the employee are at lunch like nothing happened. And then the boss pays for the lunch, you know? It's like an insane situation that would just never happen. Unless you're working for your dad, man. Unless you're working for your dad. But I did grow up in New York City. And growing up in New York City, you grow up a lot faster than you would growing up in other places. Just because you have access to so many different things. Your parents aren't really paying attention to you. By age 12, you're taking the subway to maybe school like I did. By age 13, you're hanging out with your 14-year-old mentor, smoking cigarettes backwards. You know, like that's the cool stuff you would do. I remember by the time I turned 15 years old, I had seen so many people in New York City smoke crack that I thought that they were smoking weed. which is a little bit weird because you just realize you're like, oh, well, you know, I guess weed is pretty bad. You know, I don't want to be like any of these people over here smoking weed. So when I was 14 years old, I remember the first time, though, I tried weed. I didn't know how to do it at all. I sprinkled the weed into the bowl, and then I just lit from under the bowl. I was like, oh, man, no wonder you don't get high the first time. This is terrible. Meanwhile, I was just trying to smoke crack. Weed style, man. Weed style. Dude, there's also so many different cultures. It's a beautiful thing, dude. It's so beautiful. Like, my super has become one of my best friends. Like, you guys are tight with your superintendent. Yeah, it's pretty New York niche, I suppose. But like my superintendent will just come over, and I feel like my Spanish accent has become better because of the way he speaks in broken English. He's like, Dad, and he'll just like go back and forth between like English and Spanish, which I find so amusing. Because that's usually like what us white guys do, because we know 3 words of the universal language of Spanish. You know, we know hola, ¿cómo estás? That's probably it, actually. 2 words, that's it. That's it. But like my super came over the other day, and he's trying to explain to me why the PVC pipe in my apartment needs to be replaced, like mansplaining to me, like wants to just show me that he knows a lot about what he's doing, when in actuality, I don't even give a shit about the PVC pipe. I'm like, bro, can you just fix it? He's like, the PVC pipe here is not working, pero it's going to the electricity going down, and then the radiator is no good, pero we need to fix the entire thing. It's going to cost the landlord probably $50K, it's no problem. Quick, no problem, I do it, I bring Juan, I bring Jorge, it's going to be good. I'm like, dude, can you just fix it, or what's the deal? I don't know, man. You're my boy, but we gotta get this done, dude. Need new pipes, man. My apartment's falling apart, dude. He's a good guy, though, man. He's a good guy. And, you know, I realized that, like, you know, at least he's not complaining about the guy who did the job last. I do find that, like, when people complain about the person who did the job last, they're trying to make more money doing it. Like, has anybody had a contractor experience where they try and come to your house and they're saying how the guy before did a shitty job? Yes, I'm seeing. Yes, over here, Syracuse man. What was the job of the person who came over to your house?
For me, my experience, it wasn't even job. It wasn't even a house. It was cars. Mechanics are good for that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and also, and I feel like it's an Italian thing, right? He's like, we gotta blow out this fucking woofer here. I don't know. It's like the exhaust pipe is shot. You gotta replace the brakes. This whole thing's gonna cost you $100,000. I don't know what happened with the fucking guy who did it before, but he needs to lose his fucking license, his jerk off. You should probably get a new car. I know a guy. Should get a new car. I know. He'll give you a discount. I'll give you a good price, but you got to go to my guy Paulie. All right, that's what you got to do. Yeah, it's the exact same thing, man. Just talking about the guy before, not knowing what he's doing, dude. Not knowing what he's doing. And then, like, I feel as if a lot of people now are trying to get into the multicultural language. Like, anybody here take Duolingo? No? All right, good. You guys are like me. Were you about to raise your hand, or you had a scratch right here on your mouth? All right, I'm on to you. Don't raise your hand halfway. That was like me in class when, like, there was a reading comprehension, and then, like, everybody in the classroom would raise their hand, and then as soon as the teacher called on someone, I pretended like I knew the answer. That seemed like you. I don't know. That was just me. I don't know. I hated reading comprehensions. This is a side note. I know, but I never could read nor comprehend. It was just it was tough for me, man. It was tough. But Duolingo now is very popular, and I feel as if a lot of white people and people who take Duolingo are for the most part learning a specific language. Anybody have a thought on what language other people are trying to learn? Exactly, Spanish. That's it, because every other language is just too difficult. More people maybe would speak Spanish. So my dad, the last time I saw him 2 weeks ago, he told me that he was going to start taking Duolingo. And you know how you can't really teach an old dog new tricks? My dad, for the most part, is an old dog, okay? So I see him for the first time last night at an Italian restaurant. And every time he spoke a word of Spanish, he was trying to make sure that I knew that he was speaking in Spanish. Which is insane, because he knows I speak English, okay? Dad, we've communicated before, all right? So he thought for some reason that speaking Spanish to the waitstaff at an Italian restaurant would be a good idea. So he calls over the waiter, and he just goes, "Senor," and then he looks at me, make sure I knew that he just said "Senor." "Necesitamos agua. Por favor." I'm like, "Dad, again, we are in an Italian restaurant, okay? Can't just be speaking Spanish to the waitstaff." Waiter comes over and goes, "Sí, señor, no problema, necesita ayuda, pero las personas in the back is muy busy." And then I was like, "Dad, you're lucky this time, because that was pretty racist, okay? I don't know how you got away with that, but good job, man. Good job." My dad reminds me a lot of my grandma. They're very similar in that way, that they will, for the most part, just say things and they're out of line, but they don't mean to be out of line. No, like my grandma, every time I see her, she wants to know what the young kids are doing. So I remember 2 years ago, I had told her, after she always asked me what the young kids are doing, I'm whatever, we're doing this or that. And then this one time I told her that all the young kids are buying Bitcoin. So this was when Bitcoin was at $35,000 is when I told my grandma this. And so I'm on the phone with her for 2.5 hours trying to figure out how we're going to download Coinbase, and she puts her credit card information into Coinbase. She's like, "Ted, what is this? I'm not seeing any coins on my app." I'm like, "Grandma, just please be patient with me." So Bitcoin goes from 35,000 when I told her to buy it, down all the way down to 17,000. And every single time I called my grandma, she would pick up the phone when it was down at 17,000, and she goes, "Oh, if it isn't Mr. Crypto." I'm like, "Grandma, hold on to it. It's gonna be good, all right? Do not cash out that money." She's like, "Ted, I have no idea how to even check it, to be honest. I've been watching Wolf Blitzer. I have no idea." By the way, my grandma's Jewish, and I am Jewish, and the only real reason people believe me when I'm Jewish is when I say I am, is I tell people I have bad eyesight. So that's the Jewish thing. Are you guys tightened up there, all right? Understandably. But anyway, okay. So my grandma, literally for the past 2 years up until freaking 6 months ago, was saying that every single time I called her on the phone. "Oh, if it isn't Mr. Crypto." Now, I've talked to her every single day for the past 2 weeks. She picks up, she goes, "Oh, if it isn't Mr. Crypto." "That's what I thought, Grandma. I'm trying to make you that big bag." You know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, "Just please leave me that money, okay?" We'll see, man. We'll see. My grandma's cool though, man. My whole family's cool. But just sometimes, I'll be embarrassed by something my sister will say. I don't know if you guys anybody here have siblings? No, all single children. Yes, you guys got siblings. Nice. Your sibling ever say something embarrassing to you? Not that you could talk about? I guess not. Okay, anyway. It's fine, we'll keep it in the family. That's all good. But my sister was just my sister was at a Yankees game, a Yankees playoff game, and she FaceTimed me from the third row of the Yankees game. And I knew she didn't deserve these third row tickets when she told me something about the location of her seats. So she's sitting in the third row, she FaceTimes me from the Yankees game. She goes, "Look, Ted, I'm sitting in the nosebleeds." She thought that the nosebleeds were when you're sitting close enough to the game, you could get hit in the face with a baseball. And I sensed some light laughter here. The nosebleeds guys are actually 1,000 rows up. When you're so high, that your nose starts bleeding, but I was embarrassed, man. I was embarrassed by that. My sister's, she's an interesting character because I haven't smoked pot in 9 months, guys. That usually gets a slight golf clap, but all right. Thank you, sir, for the golf clap. Let's go. My man, you smoke a lot of kush? You? Yeah, you give me that energy. I love it. It's all good. No, it's all good. But and for the most part, I know I don't give like a lot of weed smoking energy. It's all downhill after the first bump. Am I right? That's what I'm saying, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, lines 2 to 54, nightmare. But then once 5 a.m. hits, we get a second, weird go, you know what I'm saying? But my sister one time, like, I failed to mention yet, and I'm so sorry, I'm 9 minutes into my set, I haven't told you guys yet that I'm vegan. It's usually, us vegans, it's usually the first 10 seconds, we'll let you guys know. You know what I mean? We will. But I just remember, like, the first time when I was like starting to go vegan, I would try out new jokes around the house. And like being a vegan, it's tough because like the only jokes you can really make are when you're offending people. So like my sister, for example, okay, my sister was like sitting next to me on the couch eating a chicken sandwich. And I thought it'd be funny if I asked her what the name of that chicken was before it was in her sandwich. And unlike you guys, she actually didn't laugh at all, okay? She's like, shut up, Ted, you're addicted to Diet Coke and doing drugs. It's like, that was insanely harsh, okay? I'm not addicted to Diet Coke, all right? Coke, maybe, not Diet. You know what I'm saying? You always got it. Yeah. But that one hurt. That one did cut deep, man. That one did cut deep, so. I had like one of my best friend's wedding this past weekend. Anyway, you guys give a speech at a wedding pretty recently, or no? Anyone? No. Like no. Anyone have a wedding recently that they went to? Don't be shy. Yes. Okay, just me. I bet you guys are giving me like half nods, like in the school class. It's truly the school classroom, but you guys are good laughers, so I appreciate it. Okay. So I gave a speech at like one of my best friend's wedding. And in the speech, I wrote like 15 pages, not like insane long pages like this, but like notebook pages, they were like this. And I decided after I wrote it, like right before I went on the stage, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna speak from the heart. And my buddy and I, we've known each other for about 15 years, and we agreed that we have probably sent each other around 1 million text messages, which over 15 years, you've had phones for around that long. It's not that impressive, but it's still a lot of text messages. And in these text messages, no joke, I'd say that 60% of the time, we would just send each other nonsense that doesn't make any sense. Now, I know when you guys are thinking like, oh, it doesn't make any sense, like you're saying something that will be funny, maybe people would understand. I'm not talking about that type of nonsense. So when we first really started hanging out, we were in this phase where we were drinking a lot, and we would start to speak in an Australian accent post like drink number 4. You know, like when you guys get a little bit drunk, you gotta start talking like this, and then somehow it might turn into an Australian accent, having 4 pilsners, get some more drinks, So we transferred this Australian accent into text message and over each other. So, for example, a simple word like yes turned into yeast. So we started saying Y-I-S to each other, like yeast. And then yeast, this is, by the way, I'm explaining this to a room full of 300 people, 200 of which are over 70 years old. So you have to understand, they're not getting it. But I was having a good time up there. So I explained the breakdown of this language. So it started as yeast, which turned into east. And then east turned into eth. Then it went to Keith, Kaith, Coith, Goith. And then we thought it'd be a little bit funny if you sprinkled like a little saz onto it. So it went to Egoith. And then one time there was a typo. So instead of Egoith, it went to WH Goith. And then from that point there was another typo. It went to WH Goith. And then WH Forhe. And then from that point on it just got more and more insane. And I understand like you guys, the entire audience was very, very baffled and confused by this entire thing. So I was like, yeah, we started an entire language, and it was great. And then we started to make out with each other. No, we didn't, but I should have said that. That would have been a funny ending, man. That would have been a good ending to that. I also want to tell you guys that I had an awkward run-in today with my ex-girlfriend. Anybody see an ex-girlfriend on the street or anything recently? Yeah, it's very awkward, okay? So I ran into my ex-girlfriend, and like the last 4 times we've spoken, I was the one who reached out. So I figured, like, time number 5, she should reach out because I've done all the work. And we had an amicable enough breakup. So she never reached out to me. And in my head, I had like a perfect time and place. I was like, next week, 4:30 p.m. will be a perfect time for us to meet up at that new coffee place by my apartment. She never hits me up. I'm sitting on my couch. I log into my Amazon Prime TV account. I see that I get logged out of my Amazon Prime TV account. I was like, oh my God damn it. Her and her mom probably found out by now, 4 years later, that I was still using their family Amazon Prime TV account to purchase episodes of Gossip Girl. You know what I'm saying?
This was a set that I'd give, as you guys know, I've talked about this previously on the podcast, but I'll give myself a B in this situation. I'll grade every set that I do. This crowd they weren't the biggest laughers, but it depends. It's like crowd to crowd. And it's so funny. My dad has been to a comedy show before. And previously when he went to a comedy show, I thought I did all right, but the crowd really wasn't giving me much. Kind of like this crowd. This crowd was they were giggling here and there, but they weren't lolling so much. And the thing is, being a comedian, you deal with different crowds every single night. Unless you have a crowd that's coming to see you specifically, it's kind of like, the crowds aren't as hot if they're just coming to a comedy show and they don't know really who's on the lineup. But eventually, I'd like to think that people come to the comedy shows just to see me. You know what I mean? But this particular set, yeah, I got a B. But getting back to what my dad had said previously, he's like, "You did good. The crowd was solid, but you need to make them laugh more." I was like, "All right, Dad. Thank you so much." And then he saw a set that I did like 2 weeks later. He's like, "Wow, what a difference 2 weeks makes." And in my head, I'm like, I feel like I had a better set, but it's very dependent also on the crowd about how much they're going to laugh, if they feel comfortable, if they didn't know that they were going to a comedy show that particular night, whatever. It's dependent on a lot of things. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just saying. But that was the first time I think I put my full set like that on the podcast. So I'm being very vulnerable, but I also feel like I had a good time. So I wanted to throw it up on there. And if you guys didn't get to watch it visually, go back on YouTube, or if you're watching on Spotify, you'll see it visually right there. But had a crazy 3 days, and it was an amazing time. And as you guys are listening to this, Thursday, if you're listening to this as soon as it came out, tomorrow night and Saturday, I'm going to be in Princeton, New Jersey at Catch a Rising Star at the Grand Hyatt Hotel. I'm going to be doing the weekend there. You guys can check the link in this video. If you guys are listening to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, wherever you're listening to it, check the link down there. There's a few tickets left as of right now. But come see me on the road. I'm going to be doing probably around 20, 25 minutes featuring for my girl, Olga Namer. And I think we've decided on a name for each other. We're JPIC, Jewish Partner in Crime. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'll be with her, and I'm going to be shooting some stuff out there. But I'm excited. It's my first weekend on the road, probably since I went down to Florida, which was like 6 weeks ago. So it'll be a good time. I'm excited. And if you guys are in New York City, stay tuned to the Ted Jones World Instagram. I'm posting all the time, posting sketches, trying to post, at least once a day. And I think for the most part, I'm probably posting around, I don't know, I'm probably going to underestimate in how much I'm posting, but I think I'm posting at least like 50 videos a month on the Instagram. And then I'm also posting on TikTok. If you guys don't follow TikTok, it's Ted Jones World 1 and then the Ted Jones World 2 YouTube channel. But I'm trying to put up the content, as you guys can see here. Just want to keep you guys up to date on the things that I'm doing. And as the weeks go on, this is episode 474 of the podcast. We've been doing it for 5.5 freaking years. So it's been a fun journey as I continue to do this and trudge along. A lot of things in the works, a lot of things coming up that are exciting. And if you do want to see me do stand-up comedy, send me an email, ted@tedjonesworld.com. As of right now, I would absolutely love to give you guys free tickets to any shows that you guys come to. Just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to respond. And this goes without saying for, I'd say probably the next 2 weeks or so. The offer's on the table. So you guys just let me know if you're listening to this podcast, and we'll get you to a show, because I'd love to see you. Margarita Monday, every single Monday. That's a free show that we do at the Comedy Shop. And for at least the next number of weeks or so, we're going to continue to do it, because it's been great, and I've had a fun time. And I love when you guys come out to the show. I love seeing you guys at every single show. And when I see you guys out in public, I'm very excited to. And if I ever see you guys out in public and you say hey, you say what up, I love talking to you guys. It makes my day, I tell you that. But guys, as you know, this is the Ted Jones World Podcast. And till the next Ted Jones World Podcast, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.